I'll kick us off as we always do. Have a quote to kind of theme this show, and this week's quote is that people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Steve Jobs. So I found that from the thought that I had, of people don't buy. We've said this before. People don't buy what they need, or people buy what they want, not what they need. And we've specifically said that about our product, right? Final Expense is a tough product to sell, very tough. A lot of times because of the more month than money type situation that some of our clients may be in. So it's not easy to get these people over that hurdle. They've waited a lot of usually most of their lifetime, and now it's we got to have it. And it's not easy to buy at that point. So, Kev, I know our process is built, to draw out that buy. We show up and we expect an hour and a half later that we've sold a policy, we've issued it, and people aren't going to buy what they need. We've talked about the facts of the world and what happens when you pass, but they buy what they want. So how do you create a want in that home for a customer to buy something they're never going to use? You know what I mean?
Never going to see used.
Right.
I think I'm glad you said it that way, because that's the mentality you have to have is, they're not going to quote unquote use it, or they're not going to see it used, but it's going to be used. It's going to be used in a much more important way than most anything else they purchase. I agree with what you say. People buy what they want. I know I buy what I want rather than what I need a lot. Right.
Yep.
But speaking to Final Expense and in particular what we do, Dave, I believe they know they need it. Like, they might not tell you that, or folks might not want to, for many different reasons, whether they're afraid they can't afford it, or they just don't want to think about dying or think about leaving their loved ones behind. I think they know they need it. And I think it's our job to help lead them to facing the fact that they should want it. It should be important to them. When you ask the question, how do we move them from the I know I need it to, hey, I want this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Something you called me the sales guru or the sales something at the beginning. Luckily, people like you and Lindsey and Glenn taught me very early on, it's not necessarily sales, it's relationship driven. So if you said, how do I move someone from a need to a want? It is 100% creating a level of trust between myself and the family I'm serving that day or sitting in front of. Because once they, and in any sales, you have to do that, in my opinion. Now that could look different in a lot of different sales, but in ours, Dave and Linz, as you know, we're talking about something that is most likely the most important thing at that point in their life, right? These folks are 60, 70, 80 years old. They know they're getting closer to the age of passing away. And the most important thing to them is not leaving a burden to the family. So when you create that trust by getting to know the person you're serving and becoming human, right? And build, no, I'm not their best friend in an hour by any means, but they know I'm human. They know I'm real. They know I'm genuine, right? And you only can create those things, guys, by actually being genuine and actually being real and actually listening to what they tell you. And once that trust is there, Dave, I think it's actually pretty easy to follow a simple process that we teach that will give them education on what the product does and how it's going to solve their problem. And then at that point, it becomes, hey, I want to do this.
And I think I've said it before too. What's your thoughts on The want is that they don't want the pain passed down to their beneficiary, right? So, circling conversation around that person that they want to protect. They don't want to spend the money, but they want to protect that loved one from the pain. So the beneficiary, we've said it's a mantra here at Orca, we serve beneficiaries we'll never meet. We're not serving necessarily that client we put a policy in place for. We're serving that beneficiary that we may or may never not get the call from when they have to cash this thing in. So that's a big part of what you're doing in the home too, right?
Massive part, David. The same reason that I say they actually deep down know they need it is the same reason why they want to protect that beneficiary. And that is that at the age of 50, 60, 70 years old, you have buried a loved one. So you know the cost and the heartache that comes with it. So yes, it's when if I was sitting with Lindsey and yourself, I would be speaking to you specifically using Locke and Lenny and Liv's name. And I'm not doing that with a sales tactic. I'm not doing that to guilt you into this. I'm simply doing that for two reasons. One, to make it real. Because at the end of the day, I'm not telling the client this. At the end of the day, you will die, you will pass away, and there will be a cost to that situation, right? So we're using the beneficiaries' names, and we're also asking about Locke. I want to know about your son and your daughters. I want to know what goes on, how close you are, where do they live, all those things. And when you use those names, it makes it real.
And if you like that clip, make sure to like and subscribe to more of our content.